Back in 1975, Atari brought the arcade experience home with a console dedicated to the arcade smash hit Pong. This then obviously led to hundreds of clone consoles by all sorts of companies, such as the Coleco Telstar shown here in this ad. But as time went on and arcade games became more and more complex, the gap between the arcade experience and the home conversion just grew and grew. And whilst there may have been some good home ports, they just weren't arcade perfect. In 1990, Japanese game developer SNK had an ingenious idea to produce an arcade system that took cartridges, just like the home consoles of the day. This meant that a single cabinet could be used to play loads of different games. This was a very attractive prospect to arcade owners, as they could save a ton of money not having to buy a whole new cabinet every time they just wanted to get a new game in. This was known as the Neo Geo multi-video system, or as it's more commonly known, the Neo Geo M.V.S. This technology wouldn't stay exclusive to the arcade, as SNK released a home console version known as the Neo Geo Advanced Entertainment System, or Neo Geo A.E.S. This was released in 1990, initially only as a rental unit, but it soon became available to buy and stick under your living room TV forevermore. And with this, arcade perfect gaming was brought into the living room, albeit for a very hefty price.
The future is now SNK.
This console was released with 3 games that were also available in the arcade. These games included the gritty Nam 1975, a shooter which depicts the horrors of the Vietnam War, but also includes a giant mech that fires lasers for increased historical accuracy. One of the other games was Baseball Stars Professional, which includes a knockoff of Van Halen's Jump in the title screen. And the third game is the action platformer Magician Lord. And that's the game I'll be reviewing for this video. Roll the intro! In this game, you play as Alta, who is a titular magician lord. Of all the magicians in the world, this guy is the lord of them all. Paul Daniels must have been fuming when this game came out. And Alta is off to stop a man called Gal, who probably has a cat called Dog or something like that. Gal is trying to resurrect an evil god of destruction to help him conquer the world. We start off in the Dale of the Evil Gods. I would have thought that the evil gods would prefer to hang out in the underworld surrounded by fire and brimstone, but turns out they'd rather frolic through the hills of Yorkshire.
Anyone for a game of ferret down trousers?
The first thing that really hits me here is just how beautiful this game looks. This fiery sunset sky, topped with these swirling clouds above a mountain range, set behind these floating stone spires. This really sets the scene of a magical fantasy world, threatened by the destructive force of a malevolent deity. This game plays as an action platformer. Just get to the end of the stage alive, blasting all the monsters who get in your way. It's quite a simple game control wise, just 2 buttons, jump and shoot. But it has an interesting mechanic to change things up a bit. You collect these magic spheres based on the classical elements, and depending on which combo you get, you transform into different forms. The first form you'll find is the Dragon Warrior. This gives you a fire breath to burn through your foes. It also gives you the power of looking oddly adorable when you go up and down ladders. There's also the Shinobi, the Waterman, Poseidon, the Samurai, and Raijin, who looks a little bit like C-3PO. To start with, the enemies aren't too tough, but be careful as there can be a lot of them. But surely the toughest of all enemies must be these ghouls who just love to flip you off, because They're badasses and society can't tell them what to do. Once you reach the end of a level, you get to fight a mini-boss. This first one is actually pretty tough, as he blocks most of your attacks. Luckily though, if you die, the enemies don't recover any health or anything, so just keep on pumping in those credits and you'll get through it eventually. If you do die, there you get this screen where the villain of the piece, Gal, says, "Changes to hell again." I haven't got a clue what he means by that, but it sounds like he's complaining that Satan keeps rearranging the furniture in Hell's foyer.
Ooh, I think this chaise longue looks so much better by the tortured souls of those murderers.
Gal also appears after you defeat each mini-boss, where he says some complete nonsense.
You persistent guy, but your life ends right now.
And the voice acting here is nearly as bad as the acting from a Neil Breen movie. That said, the clarity of the voice samples is really quite impressive for the time. The bosses in this game look awesome. I love that whole unholy abomination look they have going, which is really the kind of thing that you'd expect an evil sorcerer to conjure in their quest to resurrect an evil god. The second level, to the evil mine. You know, it's where the mine evilium. Again, what a great looking stage. The mini-boss is a lot easier than the one from the first stage. Just jump over him when you have the chance and shoot him in the back. Gal has an emo moment before you fight boss number 2.
I'm destined just to die.
And this boss, I don't know what it's supposed to be, maybe some kind of evil bird's nest perhaps? The third stage, highway leading to a foreign space. This is one of those meaty levels, where you traverse through the innards of some giant monster. Kind of reminds me of that level from Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Oh, sorry, died. I just got a bit distracted there by that big gristly cock on the wall. Make sure you go through the meat flaps so you can get the bonus items and jump on the bouncy poops. Oh, thanks game for respawning me in the stomach acid. That's just what I wanted. Now this mini-boss is the best. I love this guy. First of all, he's some adorable fish lizard monster thing. Second of all, he walks around like he's a toddler having a tantrum. Just look at this guy. The big boss of this stage is some kind of meat dragon thing. Watch out as the stage itself will try to eat you. The fourth stage, Castle of Devils, is sadly where this game goes downhill and fast. I don't think I've ever played a game that takes such a drastic and sudden nosedive halfway through the game than this one. Let me explain. Gone are the visually impressive backgrounds and varied designs, replaced with endless corridors of stone bricks. The short, sharp, straight to the point stages of the first half are no more. And now we have overly long maze levels, which sadly remind me of those horrible labyrinth levels from Last Battle on the Mega Drive. Also, get prepared to get mobbed by hordes of enemies that take way too many hits, just jumping on you whenever possible to ensure that you don't have any chance of getting through each stage without going through a metric ton of credits. I know that this is an arcade game and they need to get the player to keep on pumping in those coins, and yes, the first half of the game was tough too, but in a good way. It felt like with a bit of practice you could probably learn how to get through it with minimal deaths. But the second half is just unfair and is filled with deaths so cheap they come with a big fat reduced to clear sticker on them. The game goes from this to this. Maybe the game designers just didn't think anyone would get this far, so they just didn't bother putting in as much effort in the later parts of the game. That would explain why they didn't even bother translating the credits for the English release. Luckily though, the boss fights are still pretty cool. The stage 4 bosses are this orange ghost who spawns minions and a demonic cow beast surrounded by the blood of its victims. The 5th stage, the Underground Passage of Terror. The nosedive continues and it reaches terminal velocity of disappointment, as this is just an unending onslaught of damaged sponge frogmen. The bosses are an axe-throwing knight and a demonic bubble-blowing eye kebab. In the 6th stage, the aptly named corridor leading to hell, you have battalions of cat girls, dog monsters and sword women to deal with, who all take way too many hits. The mini-boss is a woman who summons these sword women. Yay. And that laugh totally doesn't get completely irritating after all of 4.3 seconds. Honest. Oh, and the level boss is a penis monster, and it has some kind of xenomorph-like mouth thing that comes out of its urethra, and it spunks Metroids. At the 7th stage, Gal Agi can quite frankly piss off. Why? This bit. There's this huge mob of eyeball monsters that just hang around in this bit here and will knock you down to your death. It just seems like luck if you can get through it at all. You can't kill them all and they just keep respawning if you try. If you do somehow manage to get past this bit, the rest of the stage is mostly the same kind of thing you've come to expect from the previous stages. And at the end, you get to fight a stabby knight, followed by this. And once you've defeated that, Gao shows up and warps you to a boss rush to fight all the mini-bosses back to back. Which means we get to see this guy again! You get to choose your form for the final boss. And the final boss is none other than that god of destruction that Gal was looking to resurrect. Beat him, you get a final cutscene, and you're done. Oh, I've just realised I haven't spoken about the sound yet. And yeah, it's alright. Some pretty good tunes here, to be honest. And the sound effects aren't bad either, and as I said earlier, those voice samples, even though the acting quality is pretty poor, the clarity of them is really quite good for the era. So, to summarise, this is a very nice looking and sounding game. The first 3 levels are pretty damn good, with the third being my favourite. Sadly, this game goes downhill from stage 4 onwards, except for the boss fights. That one bit on the 7th stage was infuriating, and it just felt like it was there to punish people who had made it that far and just get them to pump in more and more cash. Overall, I wouldn't say this is a bad game, but that second half does prevent it from becoming a great one. If you would like to give this game a go, then it is available to download for the Switch, which is what I played to record footage for this video. I don't have a Neo Geo, and I don't have an original cartridge of this game because the prices are bordering on offensive. £250 for this? I think I'm okay, thanks. So in general, I did quite enjoy this game, but it did definitely have its flaws in the second half, you know, as I've discussed in this video. But I had fun with it, so if it looks like something that tickles your fancy, then why not give it a go? So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, so please remember to share, like, comment, subscribe and all that stuff. Yeah, hit that bell icon wherever it is if you want to get notified every time I upload a video so you don't ever miss one in the future, because obviously my videos are unmissable content, you know, you've got to see these. Yeah, I've also got a Ko-Fi page and a Patreon if you want to help support the channel. Just as these wonderful people have, so these are the people that support from the $5 tier and up, which is the power up tier, and with this you get to have the lovely me read the name out at the end of every video. How amazing is that? So we have Eddie, Carl Deakin, House of the Ted, Magnus Wurzane and Stuart Christopher Brownlee. So these are amazing people, and thank you so much for supporting the channel. And until next time, bye!